Welcome to Feminine Sexual Healing. If you're an intelligent woman who's interested in the leading edge of personal growth, tune in to this podcast to learn how to attract healthy, fulfilling relationships, how to have more passion, health, and vitality than ever before, and how to receive incredible abundance in your life through the power of sexual healing. I'm your host, Amrita Grace, and I'm the award-winning, best-selling author of Reclaiming Aphrodite, The Journey to Sexual Wholeness. Hello and welcome to Feminine Sexual Healing. My name is Amrita Grace and I'm your host. Today I'm going to talk about the healing power of sexual energy. And I have my own really amazing story to tell about this, which is that I healed myself from breast cancer, diagnosis to cancer-free in less than 3 months. And this is a really amazing and miraculous story. I wouldn't call it a miracle healing because the cancer didn't just vanish, but I use the best of all tools from the best of all worlds that I had access to, including my own sexual energy, to heal this breast cancer very quickly and to come out the other side healthier than I've ever been before. So I'm going to back up now and tell you the story from the beginning. Just after my 50th birthday, I received this diagnosis. It started with a mammogram that showed something abnormal. And I went back for biopsies and all of that, needle biopsies. And then I received a call from the doctor's office. And they wanted me to come in. They weren't going to give me anything over the phone. So that was when I knew. I kind of had a heads up that they were going to tell me that I had breast cancer. So I took my husband to the doctor's appointment with me, and we sat together in the office. And I was living on Maui at the time. So it was kind of funny because the doctor, who was a woman, was very flustered. She was not very comfortable giving out this diagnosis. And she told me what was going on, and then she left the room claiming she needed to find a paper or something like that. And my husband and I just looked at each other and laughed. We literally laughed because we knew that it was time to change the channel, that what we were doing wasn't working, especially for me. The way that I was working wasn't working. I was teaching workshops and he had been laid off from his job. So we were creating a workshop business together, sexual healing workshops. I was teaching women. We were looking at teaching couples and singles and him working with men. And it just really wasn't going very well. We weren't filling workshops and we were finding that we were putting out a tremendous amount of effort for not a lot of return. And this had been going on for me for quite some time. So I really got it. I need to stop. Breast cancer was permission to stop and really reassess my life and my work. I loved what I was doing. I felt like it was my soul path, and it just wasn't working. So breast cancer said, you get to stop now. Even though I'd been working with this and trying to shift it for a couple of years, until I got that diagnosis, I didn't have permission to truly stop. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped. I let go of that business, and my husband got another job so that he could see us through this crisis. But it didn't feel like a crisis. It just felt like something that really needed some focused attention. One of the things that I realized when I received the diagnosis was that I didn't have any regrets. And honestly, I think that's what happens for most people when they receive a life-threatening diagnosis. They realize that they have regrets that they might not be able to fulfill now. And that's such a shame because you can live your life making choices that don't cause you to have regrets. And I've had a lot of things in my past that I have regretted. But I was able to work through them and work through the shame that surrounded those times, so that to the point where I was able to release all of that shame. If you listen to my first podcast, The Origin Story, you'll hear my personal story of sexual healing and what led me there, and how I acted out sexually for 20 years, left a trail of destruction in my wake for 20 years. So I had a lot to contend with. But really, it was the sexual healing that got me to that place of being able to really release the shame and come to terms with all of that. It took time, but I did come to terms with all of it. So circling back now to the breast cancer story, I started to go into, well, the first thing I did was I started juicing, eliminated all sugar from my diet. I already had a pretty healthy diet, but I really took it to the next level and the next level. I investigated anti-angiogenic foods, foods that do not support cancer, and looked at the foods that do support cancer and eliminated them from my diet. So I went first to diet and really looked at all the natural options for how to heal. I also went through the medical system and looked at all the best options there. And what I found was that the medical system on Maui was not big enough to really have the expertise and the specialists to support the kind of work that I needed to get done. But what I did learn from a doctor, a surgeon that I saw, who I now consider an angel, who delivered an angelic message to me, was that there was a type of reconstruction, post-mastectomy reconstruction, that did not involve breast implants. And I absolutely did not want breast implants. So this was a procedure that uses my own belly tissue and creates new breasts from the belly tissue. And I said, that is exactly what I want. And I knew that I would need to leave Maui to get it. So I began to do some research, and I chose where I wanted to go. And it was a very high ranking breast cancer clinic that specialized. I spoke with a surgeon, and I spoke with a plastic surgeon who would do the reconstruction. And I arranged all of that by phone from Maui to travel to the Midwest, where my husband's family lived, stay with them, and take advantage of this very high level breast cancer center to have this work done, because I had decided to have a double mastectomy so that I wouldn't need to worry about recurrences, so that I would have balance in my two breasts. And I was willing to let go of my breasts and have this particular type of reconstruction called DIEP flap, DIEP, DIEP, which is an acronym, and that I would choose that. That's what I chose. I made the appointments. We traveled, and we ended up staying in Minnesota for 6 weeks while we visited the Virginia Piper Breast Cancer Center in Minneapolis. I met with my surgeon, who was a woman, and I met with my plastic surgeon, and we talked through everything that needed to be talked through and set the date for the surgery. As I got myself ready for surgery, I really tapped into the tools that I learned in my sexual healing training, because by now I had been thoroughly trained for many years as a certified spiritual sexual educator. I knew how to work with my sexual energy. I knew that it was my life force, and I knew that it was an incredible force for healing for those of us who have full access to it. So I engaged all the natural routes, the supplements, the herbs, the food, the allopathic routes, the surgery and reconstruction. And I also engaged my sexual energy to help me heal and to use it as a healing elixir that is so potent and so powerful that it could carry me through the breast cancer experience with, honestly, ease and grace. I was never depressed. I was never down. I never thought I was going to die. And I went through this 14-hour surgery of double mastectomy and reconstruction with so much ease. I came out of the anesthesia feeling happy and like magic had happened. And I found out that I wasn't going to really need to have chemo or radiation. I certainly could choose those, but it really wasn't necessary. And that honestly didn't surprise me because I didn't expect to be sick throughout this whole process. And chemo and radiation, or either one of them, would have made me sick. So when I got back to Maui and connected with the oncologist there, this can tell you a little bit about how they're kind of a little more backwards there in the islands. The oncologist said, "So we're doing chemo, right?" And I got to say, "No, thank you." So I said no to chemo and I said no to radiation, and I was never sick for a single day. So this whole process from diagnosis to cancer-free at the end of surgery took less than 3 months. And I have been cancer-free as of this video for 6.5 years. And I don't expect it'll ever return. Why would it? I got the breast cancer lesson. So while the physical healing was very fast, what was really important was for me to integrate the mental, emotional, psychic part of the healing. And that I worked with that over the course of the next few years. And what that looked like was all my life, I have decided what I wanted and gone after it. And now I needed to be in a more receptive feminine place. I needed to see what wanted to come towards me and what wanted to work with me. And that was hard for me because I'm a go-getter and I'm very enthusiastic and have a lot of energy and vitality, and I like to stay busy. So I really it was really a practice for me and a big lesson of breast cancer in how to be in that receptive mode. And as I stayed in that receptive mode, a few things showed up that seemed interesting. One of them was I ended up writing a book about breast cancer, my second book, called Dancing with Breast Cancer, The Sacred Feminine Path to Wholeness, and then creating an online course from that book. And they never went anywhere. I thought, oh my goodness, it's my sacred mission to work with women with breast cancer. And I just pursued that for a while, and it fell absolutely flat. It completely flatlined. The book flatlined, and I'm a pretty good writer, if I do say so myself. My first book, Reclaiming Aphrodite, The Journey to Sexual Wholeness, is an award-winning bestseller. And this book about breast cancer, I really was just writing it for fun, what I thought would be fun for me, rather than as an imperative. So I decided to write about healing from breast cancer and the path of the priestess, as I've been a priestess for 2 decades. So I created a book that was fun for me to write, that was healing breast cancer through the wheel of the year, the solstices and the equinoxes, and all that they represent, and a really empowering, uplifting path through breast cancer, just like mine was, flatlined. So I let that go. And there were a couple of other things that were a little bit of a misstep that started me down a certain path. I thought, well, maybe I want to edit books, or maybe I want to ghostwrite books. And I found both of those things utterly tedious and boring, although I did give them a try, at least the editing. And it was like, I'm not doing this. So I just continued to be in that receptive mode. And meanwhile, I came back to working closely with Caroline Muir, who is my co-founder in the Sacred Feminine Mystery School and who's been a dear friend for 15 years. And we decided to create a week-long workshop for women in Costa Rica. And this was a few years down the road from that breast cancer completion, the physical completion. And that workshop ended up selling out 3 months in advance. And it was extremely well received. And at the end of that workshop, I got it. It's time for me to train teachers. The world is now ready for high caliber, safe, sacred sexual healing for women that is in integrity, the highest of integrity. And that was the download. Along with that download, I received a global vision, which I also shared in my first podcast. And since then, I've been like an arrow shot from the bow. Breast cancer, which I helped heal with my sexual life force energy, brought me back to this place of incredible vibrancy, vitality, and clarity about my sacred work in the world, my true sacred work. And even though unexpectedly it circled back to teaching sexual healing workshops for women, it's at a whole new place on the spiral. It's at a whole new level, a whole new octave. And it feels like now the world is ready. And the Me Too movement has happened over the past few years, which has fueled this need for empowered feminine leadership in this realm, and for the availability of practitioners and teachers of sexual healing for all genders who can hold really powerful, safe, sacred space for people who need to heal as all of this arises. So I have to say that breast cancer for me was an incredible blessing. And I'm very, very grateful that I had the opportunity to go through something like that. It gave me tremendous, um, compassion for women who are experiencing diagnoses like these. And it also gave me so much hope for the possibilities for healing. And it really showed me just how potent and powerful our sexual energy is as a healing force. So the takeaway from this for you, I hope, is that you can use your sexual energy, your life force energy, to heal your body, to help and support along with other healing modalities, whatever you're going through. But the important thing is to even just back it up a step, is to do the healing work around what has created these imbalances in the first place. And that is really to go in and do your own sexual healing work, to find out where you've shut down and locked down your sexual energy, your life force, where you've cut yourself off from it. And that could be going all the way back to childhood. It could be going back through your lineage, your foremothers and forefathers, and past lives. We're impacted on a daily basis by the cultural use of sex as a commodity and the religious use of shaming to keep us in a box around our sexuality. And this is all starting to unwind right now, which is such a good thing. And we've got a lot of work to do. And all of that begins within. The work begins within us. We can be world changers, but we've got to start within ourselves, because as within, so without. So I leave you with this amazing possibility, this hope that you can heal and use this healing elixir that you have access to, that's free, that's yours, it's your birthright, to use it intentionally to heal anything that you are ready to heal that's on a physical level. And then there's an invitation here to take a deeper dive into doing the healing of what has been stored in your pelvic region, what has been stored in your psyche, in your emotional body, in your energetic body, perhaps throughout your entire life. And as you release that, you get freed up to attract the things that are really important to you. Great relationships, abundance, including financial abundance, and health and vitality. So thank you very much for being on this journey with me and hearing my story. It's one of the few times you'll ever hear somebody say, I had an amazing and joyful journey through breast cancer. And I did. And this is really available to anybody. Because really, if you're not afraid to die, that makes the journey more joyful too. And I wasn't. I didn't want to. I didn't intend to, but I wasn't afraid. So thank you so much for being with me today. And I wanted to let you know that if you're interested in sexual healing work, I work with women in groups, in workshops, ranging from free intros to weekends, to week-longs, to a certified spiritual sexual educator, teacher, and practitioner training. You can learn more on my website, which is sacredfeminineschool.com. I wish you so much joy and healing and abundance and expansion on your path. Blessings to you. Thank you for listening. Please visit our website at sacredfeminineschool.com for lots of great resources and information about how to enjoy a lifetime of passion, vitality, and fulfilling relationships. Be sure to subscribe to Feminine Sexual Healing with Amrita Grace to get notified of new episodes. Until next time, remember that sexual healing is the fast track to feminine power and embodiment.